Wanted to share a short movement practice for you to hopefully feel inspired to do some things at your home. I'm sitting on 2 blocks. So whether you have blocks or if you have sort of a low chair or a stool, an ottoman, anything like that that you might want to take a supported squat on, that's how I'm beginning this. So your feet can be wherever it feels comfortable. So if you're earlier in the pregnancy, your feet might be a little closer. Maybe just from the beginning, you want your feet to be wider. It is so different for every single body. So I'm just moving a little bit side to side and placing elbows or forearms on the knees. And so you can do that slowly and just see if these little side to side shifts alert any specific area that you might be feeling now. Okay, and then you might want to add, eventually, reaching the arm up and holding it. Static hold. Just taking some deep breaths to your liking. And then switch sides. Okay, come back to center. Now at center, just start with your feet. So I'm doing a little bit of shifting of how my feet are positioned. You could try that and see if, or even just little heel lifts to check in with your ankles, feet. And then last thing here, some cat-cow for your spine. So obviously when the baby starts to grow and the more you get into 2nd or 3rd trimesters, it becomes harder to take the flexion part of this when you round in. So you can lift your elbows out, you can make it more about the subtle feelings rather than, it doesn't have to be an exaggerated rounding. And it could also be like more in your neck. And just notice how that neck movement might signal all the way down the spine. You can add other neck movement. And then last thing here, just take a moment with your baby. Hands to belly, hands to heart and belly. Maybe you notice movement. Just a moment of honoring where your body's at, what it's doing, and gratitude. Okay, eventually we're going to come to stand. So this could be challenging too, depending on where you're at in your pregnancy. So you could just step your feet maybe a tad bit wider, put your hands towards your knees, and use the ground to help you press up. You could also lean to the side, or if you're next to a small table, a couch, something like that, you could put your hand there and help you get up from there. Okay, so I'm gonna move back, move the blocks. Next, I would love for you to just stand up and start to lean a little bit side to side. Especially after you're coming up from that long squat, noticing how your hips feel, your hip flexors. So you could do a little bit of this, lifting one knee up at a time. Just seeing what's going on for you today there. Good. And then rotating the hips around. And so this could even vary so much for you depending on where you're at in your pregnancy too. So if you're standing, you know, doing these hip rotations, you could add cat-cow like movement in your spine. Again, depending on how much that feels okay and how far along you are. But that just gets some really nice energy into the pelvis. Maybe to the baby. I always liked to think when I was pregnant that the baby did really enjoy some dance-like movement and yoga in general, because it was just welcoming a shift and good attention to the baby. Okay. And then a little shake of the arms and wrists. Some of you might get tender wrists. You might already have them. Also, some ankle circles. Because of the added load of the baby and weight gain that is constant and necessary for the pregnancy, that puts definitely a lot more strain on our legs and feet. So it's interesting to put your feet up and massage them out. Use balls under your feet to roll out. And also just make sure that you're wearing supportive shoes that aren't squeezing your toes too much. All right, good. So now I'm going to have us come to a wall. So if you have a wall close by, it can be helpful to put your bum up against a wall and walk your feet out wide and about 2 feet in front of you, 2 or 3 feet. So your legs are at a slant. And then you can press your bum up against the wall while pressing your feet down into the floor. And you can hold your belly, put your hands on your legs. And just see how that, this isometric hold, using your own body to build strength, static hold, your energy going into your backside and energy going down through your feet. And then very gently press away from the wall using your hands to come up to stand. Okay, so now you're going to turn sideways at a wall and have your arm at arm's length. So you're touching the wall with your palm and you have this nice straight arm. And you're just going to reach away. And so then from here, see if you can take your extended arm, bring it in to touch your chest and trace all the way across. You let your hips move with you, hips and baby move with you all the way to your hand. Okay, and then you're going to come back out. So if you're in third trimester, your back foot might be closer to the wall and your front knee can be bent so that it's less of a twist. You can press into the wall and then slide back out. Press in to the wall and slide back out. Okay, and then we're going to move to the other side. So transition, take opposite hand, so I'll go over here. Your back foot can be closer to the wall, your front foot and knee can be out kind of like a little bit like warrior two. But you're going to start with straight legs and really reach out. And then that extended arm is going to curl in, Slide the palm across the chest, down the length of the arm, and then back out. So again, if you're in the first trimester or early second trimester, you can keep your legs pretty straight and curve and turn. The further along you get, the closer you'll want that outer leg to be and the more bent, so that when you curl in, you can move your hips with you. So you'll do this a few times, and if anywhere that you want to hold, you can hold and feel into it more. And this is something that I am playing with because it might just help get into the back ribs and some opening for the trunk that can be hard to access when pregnant. Okay, then we're going to turn to the wall and take a down dog. So you can use a window frame like I'm doing, or you can just use the wall and walk your feet back. And just play around with pressing your hands into the wall, bending your knees, and then pressing your feet into the floor. And seeing if you can isolate certain regions of the body that need this. And then play with it too. If you don't want to press into the floor or into your hands, transfer it. So focus more on the feet, then back off, focus more on the hands. Walk your feet closer in, shake your wrists. And we're going to come back to the bum against the wall. Walk your feet out. If you want to try the isometric hold again, try that. But then eventually, see if you can bring elbows to knees. If you can fold all the way forward and you want to try that, you can. You could also have a block or something underneath you that you could put your hands on. And this might be another nice way to reach the mid-back, back of ribs area. If you use your hands to the block or elbows to the thighs and bum to the wall, and see if you can get the breath to your back body. Okay, use your hands against the wall to help you come up. Nice and slow. And every time you come to stand, when pregnant, give yourself ample time to transition. Sometimes, your blood pressure needs a moment. You might feel a little dizzy. Just give yourself time. Take one more wall down dog. And then slowly come away. You can use the wall so much when you're pregnant. You can use the wall to take triangle pose with your back up against the wall. You can use the wall for calf stretches, arm stretches, any of it. And if you have massage balls or tennis balls, because it is hard right now to get massages or lay on your back or numerous things, you can use the ball behind your back and just kind of roll up and down to your liking. That's a really nice thing to try. Okay. Move slow, to remind myself, okay? So we're gonna come back down to the floor. We haven't been in this position yet. So just, again, this depends on how far you are in your pregnancy and how your mobility is to be able to get down. So you could come down one knee at a time, one hand at a time. You could use blocks. And you might even use blocks under your hands in table all the time, depending at any height. Just see how it feels for your body. Start to move around in circles, hip circles, cat-cows. take slow arm raises. And then we're going to kind of go around the world for our hips. Okay, so you're going to start, I'm going to take the blocks to the side for a moment. Start with curling one set of toes under and really stretching into your calf on that leg. Okay, and then lift the leg up and down a few times. And that might require repositioning your hands. And then pick up the foot and the knee and take a few circles. And then reach the leg out at a diagonal and start to bend the knee and walk into a side lunge. So your hands can move over to the side with you. A little bit of rocking in and out. And then walk your hands further away from you again so you have more room to keep heel-toeing the foot up. Now you're at somewhat of a diagonal and you can rock back and forth this way so that perhaps you open up the back of the thigh to some stretch and attention. Okay, and then we're going to walk the foot back out to where it was until you can slide the leg back and take one final calf stretch. So, if this little sequence is all you do in a day, that might be helpful. In between sides, take a sit back. So this is where you could take a block with you or pillows. If you have like some sturdier pillows that aren't too floppy, you can sit back on that. And just take a moment to notice how much that took out of you. Or some days you have like extra burst of energy and you might do some yoga and go for a walk or a bike ride or whatever you do, or a hike. And then other days, it's just one of these things that I'm showing you, and then movie time or book time. Okay, let's come back and do the other side. So you're going to come off the block. Maybe I'll come at an angle this time. You're going to reach the other leg back so your toes are curled under, and you're going to stretch back for your calf. Use the floor, both through your hands and your foot and your bottom knee, to help you find the just right sensation that you're looking for. And then a few leg raises. And so your hands might need to move to help support your full load. So again, because of the extra load of the baby and the constant growth and hormonal changes, our legs and feet really go through some big changes. I just remember like going up a flight of stairs would always be so much harder. My legs would feel so heavy and feet would get tired much easier. So doing these leg lifts are just helpful to figure out from day to day, week to week, whatever, what you can handle in your legs and your hips. So then move out diagonal. You can bend the knee, take some circles, or just some movement with the leg in the air. noticing your pelvis and the base of your spine and how all that's getting affected. Then step the leg out to the side diagonal. And this usually is more welcome when pregnant. Your hands can move around so you feel comfortable. And you might also have, extra padding under your bottom knee. You're going to heel toe the foot forward. Don't come all the way in front of you. Be more at a diagonal so you have space for your belly and baby. And you'll rock back and forth here. So this is more to find a tension and stretch for the back of the thigh. And some days you might want to hold it here. You can be up higher on a block. And then eventually crawl back to where you were. You can slide the leg back and take one last calf stretch. Okay, and then if you want to settle again into your saddle pose with a block under you, or you could be standing on your knees and moving your hips around that way. Take a moment, give yourself a hug. And acknowledge how, acknowledge how things might be changing in your breasts or chest. Switch the arms. It's also really helpful to get into mind that you want to begin to start to care more for your shoulders and your neck. Because once you have a baby, it's so much about shoulder, neck work, right? So when you're carrying the baby in your body, so switching arms to stretch, there's a lot of load on the lower extremities. Once you have the baby, the load then gets transitioned to the upper extremities because you obviously have to be holding, baby carrying, not just the baby, but all the things that go with it, your own stuff, nursing, feeding in whichever way you choose, just always requires that shoulder stuff. And so the neck and shoulders just all gets pulled in, right? And so we have to try to remember to open and stretch. Eagle arms is really helpful. So if you know eagle arms, any stretch that you're used to and that you can remember to do for your shoulders, chest, upper back, neck. You might want to start just getting into your daily routine so that it's just there and you remember it once the baby is there. Okay, last thing for today, polar bear pose. This is often called in prenatal yoga. So I'm having the knees nice and wide, wider than you would for table pose. Hips and pelvis are up behind you. And you can start, with your elbows a little further ahead of you and then start to walk them in. Because each of you will have different variations of this, depending on your hip flexors, back, all of it. So you can do a little bit of this rocking back and forth just to check in. And then if it feels okay, you can stack your arms or have a block and rest your head down. And then even while you're here, just some hip swaying and circling can be really nice. And just remember to take it one day at a time. Each day your body will tell you different things. And it can be really hard when pregnant because there's so many opinions coming at you from all angles, from doctors or midwives, nurses, from family, from friends, prenatal yoga teachers, right? But you get to decide and have your own experience. So you'll come back up to your hands and knees. And then from here, I want you to walk your knees slowly a little closer in, just from where they were. Walk your hands closer in until you can stand up on your knees. You might flip your hands so fingertips are pointing down, and you're going to support the back of your pelvis and just take your fingertips to your sacrum and rub. Give yourself some love there. Walk around the sacrum, maybe even into your bum. Good. And then sweep your arms up and down. And if you want, you can bend your knees, sweep up. Bend your knees, sweep down. And just work a little bit with that flowing feeling that you might be used to if you practiced yoga going up and down before. So now we're going to come to sit down, legs in front. Even if you did practice yoga before being pregnant or have other things that you did movement-wise, doesn't mean that that's how you're going to move now. And that's just something to remember. Don't be hard on yourself. Try not to be so hard on yourself during this time. Okay, I have a block here. I highly recommend getting some foam blocks if you're able to find them somewhere to lie back. So I'm gonna have feet coming to the floor, knees bent, and keep shifting a little bit until able to find that block coming right at the back of the ribs behind the heart. And so once you're there, you might have to keep shimmying and shift a little bit, okay? And then you could bring your hands behind your head and just hold your head like a little pillow or hammock. And then you get to do a little bit of this, rocking side to side, shoulder blade to shoulder blade, and just staying somewhere too where it feels like a good isolated spot. And then if it feels okay, it's part of something you want to try, you could take a second block, stand it taller, and place it behind your head. So then you can open the arms. This is, again, just another really good position to remember in the postpartum. Not all of you will feel comfortable doing this at different stages in your pregnancy. So that's something to think about. If you have a bunch of pillows that are, again, firmer pillows, or if you have a bolster, you can put it at this slant over the blocks. You can set it up in your bed in such a way that you're more like this, you know, at a slant like this. You're not quite leaning back as far. And then you can relax and do your meditations, your, you know, visualizations and things that you might be working on for the birth. When you are coming to get up from a lying down position, try to remember to lean to the side. Use your elbow to come up. And again, that's something you'll take with you into the postpartum. Okay, can't believe this was 30 minutes. Talky. Hope that helped. There's so many more poses. So if you find this helpful, reach out. I'll try to record some more. But I wish you all a gentle winter and gentle pregnancy.